I'm growing there. Parents kept me around the music, and we were just with it all the time. Monday nights was caravan rehearsal.
Yep.
So we would just fall asleep hearing it. It was just in our minds and our spirits every weekend, going out, to the different engagements, traveling on the road, and we didn't know what was happening and taking place then. We were just having fun, not knowing that it was, leading up to what we're doing now. So it's
Did
great.
you hear, when you were in your mother's room, did you actually hear the music? Did you hear your mother's soprano voice?
I probably did. Because my mother, she's awesome in her singing, and I would like to say a lot of the singing and the approach that I have towards singing comes a lot from her.
Well, you probably did a lot of bumping in her room because them caravans were up and down the road.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Constantly on the road.
Yes.
You're the oldest.
Yes.
Of the Jared's your younger brother.
Yeah, my younger brother, Jared Howard.
And how many years between the two of you?
Just a year and a few months.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all.
I remember when she was carrying you.
Okay.
Because at that time I was working with the caravans from 1974 through 1976, the bicentennial year.
Okay.
Which I made sure they got a part of it. They were playing a part of that to represent Atlantic City, because the bicentennial wasn't just Philadelphia.
That's right.
It wasn't just Philadelphia.
Nation.
It was a tri-state area.
Okay.
So therefore, in my opinion, they were the hottest things in Atlantic City, in the state of New Jersey.
Right.
Because I knew of no other, and I'm sure there were other choirs in New Jersey, but certainly they were very close to my heart. And I know there was another choir from somewhere down in that area, but no one had the fervor and the fiery spirit of those caravans when they weren't running around the church.
Absolutely. we had a ball. I remember as a child coming up to Philly a whole bunch. So I remember a lot of those days in different places they would come up in this area. So it's been great. It was great growing up and being around that culture, being around that environment.
Now, we were talking earlier before we actually started recording that I interviewed your dad and Pastor Lyles, who is now Bishop Charles Lyles, because I was just really fascinated by the fact that here you have a Baptist pastor and a Pentecostal pastor working together for all those years.
Right.
All those years. So you got the best of both worlds.
Best of both worlds. I think, what I honestly think? I think the great thing about that, now that I'm thinking about it more, they were friends and they started out before they were pastors, before they were even in ministry. So, for lack of better terms, they weren't corrupted by the religious culture that the church brings. They were already friends.
Yeah.
So, if we were friends before all of this, why should we stop being friends now? They just had a love for the music, a love for music ministry, and I think that's what kept them together. And that never stopped just because they became ministers or became pastors.
Right. I never understood in other churches or other singers. I told you earlier, there was a time in the Pentecostal church, if you were coming from a Baptist church singing, they sat on you.
Oh, yeah.
They would not clap their hands.
Absolutely.
They would applaud when you got finished, but they weren't really receptive because you didn't believe, or you weren't saved, you didn't speak in tongues, and you don't have this gift and all that. So there was a division. But as you said, those two were friends.
Absolutely.
Before they even started. I remember Charles was there in Ocean City.
Right.
At that Church of God in Christ, we used to call it the Pink Elephant because it was a pink building, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I believe he was 16 years old when they started.
Yeah. So they didn't get a chance to get indoctrinated with that divisional stuff of separating.
Yes.
Now, growing up there in the home and traveling with the caravans, you went to Atlantic City. Has how many schools? I know you got the new Atlantic City High School.
Well, I actually grew up in Pleasantville, right outside of Atlantic City. I teach in Atlantic City, and we have about I would say about 8 or 9 schools combined with the elementary and high school.
I see. How are you in school? Be honest.
I like it. I'm having fun.
I'm not talking about now.
Oh, you talking about back then?
About then. Oh, don't try to get around it. I'm a pro. Don't try to get around it.
Well, I got in a lot of trouble. My father had to come to the school. I would act out. I always had a little mouth with me, and goofing off.
Did he ever whip you in front of the kids?
Thank God, no. There was this one time when I was in high school, and my vice principal had called, and so my father, I heard this big voice coming down the hallway.
You mean they would call during school hours?
Oh yes, they would call. They called my father. He came down, and I heard his voice, and he came down around the corner. I said, Lord Jesus.
Were you in the classroom or were you in the principal's office?
I was in the classroom. I was in driver's ed class. I'd never forget, teacher's name was Mr. Leary. I was in his class. And they came, he had me come out, and I was nervous. He had told me before, if I have to come down there, I'm going to whoop your butt in front of all of it. So I said, God, Lord, help me, Jesus. And I was so nervous. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if he just had mercy on me or if it looked like, I want to say...
Did he leave a belt home or something that day?
No, it looked like he saw how nervous I was, and I think he wanted to laugh, and but he kept himself back, and he just gave me a very stern talking to, and I was spared. But the kids in there, they were waiting, they were hoping that I was going to get it. You know, those stories, you never escape those for the rest of your life. So I'm glad somebody, the Lord stepped in, and I was able, to get things going.
Take it from me, I was the firstborn. We're special. Yeah, that's why we get a beating.
Amen.
And you're named after him. You're the firstborn. It makes a difference. It makes a difference every time. But you came out of high school. You did graduate?
Yes.
Okay. Did you go to college from there?
Yep. Went to Rowan University in Glassboro, New Jersey.
Was it Rowan then, or was it Glassboro State?
It was Rowan. Actually, when I first got there, it was Rowan College, and then it changed to Rowan University. So by the time I got there, it wasn't Glassboro anymore.
How do you feel about that, them changing the name after all these years, and to the alumni who went there under that, who had the jackets and everything?
I think that's, honestly,
your personal opinion.
The circumstances, from what I remember, it was somebody donated $100 million, and I know several people that would probably change their name for $100 million, let alone a school or a business. So I'm not mad if it's going to bring the money in. In an instance like that, I can understand. And the school has been really growing and doing a whole lot since then. It started while I was there, but now it doesn't even look the same. So, I mean, I understand the nostalgia.
So you can't get away from it. Money talks.
Money talks.
That's the bottom line.
In education, it's about the kids and about the students, but it's also about the money, period.
Now, when you were in school there in Atlantic City, in Pleasantville, I'm sorry, did they have any art classes or music classes or gym that you remember?
We had music classes, and we actually had an instrumental music program.
Really?
Yes, because I started out with the drums. And while I was growing up, I played drums. I tried a little bit at the trumpet, and I tried a little bit at the saxophone. My brother Jared, he played the drums a little bit in high school, but Jared, he gonna crack up if I tell this. Jared actually made all-state chorus growing up. We would have to travel to go hear him sing in an all-state chorus. Jared was a very good vocalist back then. He doesn't sing now. He's a great, awesome musician. But back then, he was in all-state. But I also started out having piano lessons, but I didn't stick with it.
Did you have a piano there in the house?
Absolutely. We had a piano in the house.
Did your mother play?
Yes, she did. My mother played. My mother read. She took lessons for years. My mother, she actually is a songwriter. She writes some good songs. Really? One of the songs, Bless Me Lord, the Caravans recorded on one of the albums they did for Sweet Rain. So she writes, she sings, she actually heads up the adult choir at our church. So she's great.
That's great. So you graduate from school, you go to college.
I did the gospel choir while I was in college. I directed the gospel choir. That's when I first started directing.
At Rowan?
Yes.
Didn't they have a big program down there?
Mm-hmm. We had
somebody had invited me to come down to a program down there. That's way back in the 90s,
yes, 80s. That's when we was there. We actually recorded a CD, and everything. And
Did you lead all the songs?
no, you know what? I actually did not lead all the songs, but we had a great time there, and I didn't start directing and getting into the vocal aspect of it until then. Up to that part, I was just playing the drums. That was my plan. I was going to be a drummer until I didn't even want to go to college. My father made me go, and turns out that was the best thing for me.
Were you living at home at that time?
I was living at home.
So you had to go to college.
My plan was, a lot of people from home, they were going to Europe, and singing and playing and stuff. So that was my plan. I was going to go to Europe and be a drummer. But then my father, he told me I was going to go to college. I was very upset. And
was he going to pay for it?
Oh yeah, he told me, bottom line, you're going to college. You ain't going to, be traveling.
That's a blessing right there.
That was a blessing. I mean, and now looking back, I mean, even after I got out of college, I could have tried to go, but I didn't even want to go to Europe. It's good to have a good, stable home environment to guide you and help you. I think that's one of the problems with a lot of the kids that have talent. They don't have proper guidance, so they end up making a lot of mistakes.
But again, it comes from the family structure.
Absolutely.
That starts in the home. You can't let the teachers raise your children.
Right.
It's up to the parents. Thank God you had two staunch Christian parents.
Yes, sir.
And your father is no nonsense.
Absolutely.
He is no nonsense.
They don't play.
I don't even mess with him.
My mother, neither one of them. It is what it is. It's going to be what it's going to be.
So it was no spare the rod and spoil the child?
Oh, no. Several beatings.
We all got them.
Yes.
Hey, we all.
It helped. It helps.
It helps. It keeps you in line.
It keeps you
in line. There's no just they come up with this child abuse, and now the parents are scared. The children say, "I'll call DHS."
Well, let me tell you, I also work part-time in a juvenile detention center down the way, and I see the results at least 2-3 times a week being there of kids that don't have the proper guidance. I thank God I'd rather have the belt back when I had it than ended up in jail.
Yeah.